Hello. In this video I'm going to talk about how to compare things in English. In other words, how to say what is the same about two things and what is different about those two things. So in this presentation I'll talk about some definitions, and we'll talk about how to use a Venn diagram to talk about the similarities and differences between two things. Then we'll look at some phrases in English to talk about things that are the same and things that are different. And then we'll look at some example sentences. So definitions. Compare means what is the same about two things. And contrast means what is different. So sometimes people talk about compare and contrast. That means what is the same and what is different. And a good way to describe these differences and similarities is by using what's called a Venn diagram. So a Venn diagram looks like this. It has two or maybe even three circles or more, depending on how many different things you are comparing and contrasting. So a simple Venn diagram has two overlapping circles. And so how do we interpret this diagram? So the circle on the left represents thing 1. So if we're comparing, for example, thing 1 and thing 2, thing 1 on the left is everything inside that red circle describes thing 1. And with thing 2, everything inside the yellow circle describes thing 2. So notice in the middle, there's a section that describes both things. So let's look at another more specific example. If we were going to compare and contrast dogs and cats. So everything in the circle on the left is talking about dogs. Everything in the circle on the right is talking about cats. And everything in the middle is both dogs and cats. And everything here is dogs only, and everything here is cats only. So let's look at some actual specific information to go into this Venn diagram about dogs and cats. So what's something we can say about dogs? Dogs need a walk every day. Cats have sharp claws. So only dogs need a walk, and only cats have sharp claws. Dogs wag their tails, as we can see in that picture. Cats are independent. Cats can purr. So purring is the happy sound a cat makes when you pet it. And now we have this part in the middle. So cats and dogs are both cute. Cats and dogs are both good pets. And dogs and cats both have soft fur. So now we have some information in this Venn diagram. Now let's look at some phrases in English that we can use to describe differences and similarities. So some same and different phrases. So first let's talk about same phrases. In other words, remember to compare things. So these phrases here, both, be similar to, be like, similarly, also, as well, to, etc. And there are more examples also, but I think these are the most common. Now let's talk about phrases to show differences or contrast. For example, although, but, even though, however, on the other hand, be different from, or we can use the comparative form in English to be more than something, or less than, or not as something as something. For example, it's taller than, or not as tall as, more expensive than. Okay, now let's make some example sentences using this information and using those phrases I gave as examples. So dogs and cats are both cute. So these are examples of similarities. So we can use this phrase both to describe both things. Or we can say both dogs and cats are cute. Dogs are good pets, period. Similarly, cats are good pets. Dogs have soft fur, cats have soft fur too. Or we can say cats have soft fur also, or cats have soft fur as well. Okay, now let's look at some example sentences talking about differences. Dogs need a walk every day, but cats don't. Cats' claws are sharper than dogs. So here's an example of comparative. Cats' claws are sharper than dogs' claws. Dogs wag their tails when they're happy. However, cats don't. Or another way you could say that. Dogs wag their tails when they're happy. However, cats move their tails when they're angry. Cats can purr. On the other hand, dogs can't. Although cats are independent, dogs need a lot of attention. So we can switch the order of those clauses to say, dogs need a lot of attention, although cats are independent. Or we can say, cats are independent, although dogs need a lot of attention. Any of those is okay. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this lesson about how to use a Venn diagram to describe the similarities and differences. So I invite you to think about two different things and think about a Venn diagram and what is the same and what is different about those things. For example, two sports or two types of food, something like that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and like always, if you have any questions or problems, please send me an email.